Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Expat Experience, a podcast highlighting the lived experiences of Black expats around the world. I am Kendall Tyson, your host, licensed therapist, and a fellow Black expat. We have another great episode in store for you today. So I would like us to welcome Toni Carthan to the show. Hi, Toni.
Hey, Kendall. It's great to be here. I'm excited about this interview.
Yes,
Thanks.
So am I. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. I just want to get, the audience introduced to you. So I'm going to read the amazing information that you share with us in your bio. So Toni was born in Cincinnati, but raised in Los Angeles. And she's been in Mexico for the last 18 months. What city are you specifically in Mexico, if you want to share?
Sure, I'm in Playa del Carmen.
Oh,
yeah. I started out in Merida, and I stayed in Merida for like 8 months. Then I moved on to Playa.
Oh, that sounds so amazing. I can't remember the last time I've been to Mexico. I've been in Beijing for 4 years. So I am definitely looking forward to being on the beach in Mexico somewhere in the next few years. So at 63, Toni Denise retired, and she decided that she wanted to recapture the excitement of living abroad again, as she had in her younger years. She also wanted to rediscover her faith in a new way. She knew moving abroad would put her in a position to totally trust God. And yes, that's definitely a faith walk. I can say that. Toni made the leap and bought a one-way ticket to Tulum, Mexico. She quickly realized that while Tulum offered beautiful beaches, she desired more of a developed city. So she then moved to Merida, Mexico, where she lived for 9 months. Having a strong desire to live by the beach, Toni moved to Playa del Carmen. And for the last 9 months, she's been living her dream of walking living distances from the beach, walking distances from the beach. And she's passionate about encouraging women over 50 to live more, love themselves, and say yes to life again.
Yes, indeed. I am.
I love it. Listen, the part of really it sounds like a journey of rediscovery. And what are your thoughts on that?
It is a journey of rediscovery, because I think as women, we spend a lot of our lives giving to others, and in that process, sometimes we lose ourselves.
Yeah.
And so this was a time in my life where I had raised 3 boys. I call them my 3 kings, 3 young men that are doing very well in their lives.
Congratulations.
And it was at a time where I felt like, okay, I just felt like things were shifting in society as well as in myself. And I wanted to just shake up something in myself, and being in the same environment and doing the same thing. I knew I couldn't do that. I didn't want that for myself. And then one of the main things, Kendall, was I found myself becoming fearful. Just to try new things. And, I didn't know what the future held. I was looking at retirement, wasn't sure if I was going to retire. I didn't know what that was going to look like. And I just, began to be fearful about my future. And I didn't want to go out like that. I didn't want to be fearful. And, you're talking to a person who, when I was younger, I hopped on a plane at 19 years old and went to London by myself. And it didn't even occur to me that I was going by myself.
Wow.
And that's the person that I wanted to get back to, that confidence, that fearlessness of, seeing the world. And that's what I wanted. And, you can get trapped. I don't know if trap's the best word, but just, life can just put so many layers on you. You look up and you're not doing what you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get back to traveling, because I love to travel, and not just tourist traveling. I wanted to live in another place and become, So that's kind of what prompted me to move.
That really takes me, it kind of, you already segued into like the first, one of the questions that I asked initially is, what prompted the decision to move abroad. And it sounds as if, you have some experience in the pursuit of happiness when it comes to being fearless, seeing the world, really going and, taking the risk of living life on your own terms. And that it's a very liberating type of venture. And so I really appreciate, your mission, the specificity of the work that you're doing currently with being a lamppost to women over 50, who often the world tells us women after a certain age, you're no
become invisible.
Right. And I mean, I'm 40, right? And there's still, things I want in my life that haven't materialized yet, which I'm sure will happen. But it's a hard reality to kind of accept and push through when the world tells you what use do you have, you're past your prime, and it's just like, hold up.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Kendall, because that's exactly what the world and society does tell you. And I'm like, I call myself an age rebel, because I'm like, it's like, just because society says that it should be over, or you shouldn't try things, or they kind of push you to just kind of like stop doing things. And I'm like, okay, so who said we had to stop doing things? Who said we had to stop living? And I'm like, I don't, it's insulting to me. I'm like, why should life just be for the young?
Yes.
And so I just, refuse that. I mean, it's kind of can be a paradox, because I also honor my age, and I'm thankful that God has, given me the life that I've had. And I'm one of those people who embraces my age. And I just had my 65th birthday, and I'm thankful for that. I did just last June 10th. So I'm still kind of celebrating, and
the whole month, right? So we do the whole month.
Yeah, I'm going into July too. I got some big plans for July, so I'm deeming that we still this part 2 of my celebration. But yeah, you capsulized everything very well, because the society will make you think that it's over, you're too old. Why are you doing that? And I think it's just because people get used to the way everybody does everything. And then when somebody comes along that does something different, they're like, oh, because I can be in a room of 20 people and nobody's travels that much. They certainly haven't moved to another country.
Yeah.
And it's like we are outliers.
Yeah.
And
I kind of like that.
I've kind of always been an outlier. So
you and I have that in common. I've never been one to really go along with the crowd. I'm definitely not big on groupthink, very much an independent individual, rebellious to a degree for sure. And my mother would always say, stop trying so hard to, to fit in when you were born to be the outlier. And sometimes that's a very lonely space. But I think that through accepting whatever gift and calling is upon your life, embracing it and leaning into that, there's so much liberation, there's so much creativity and freedom, and acceptance to be found in just sitting in the space that, is available to you. And I often get the sense that to choose the expat life, there has to be that level of, I want to be different, right? And not different to be novel, but because that there's more for you out there, you want more than the status quo, you're willing to make some sacrifices to realize the reality that you're seeking.
Yeah, big sacrifices.
For sure.
But yeah, you're exactly right.
So let me ask you, when you think about moving, you shared a lot about yourself already, which really answers a lot of the initial questions that I had. I am curious, what were some of the considerations that you had to make when choosing the country that you wanted to live in?
The one of the first things I thought of was where Black women were accepted.
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with Stephanie Perry, her whole Vicarious. At the time she was Vicarious. This was probably like 2017. I was following Stephanie, and she did a survey on her channel about where Black women, of all the places Black women had traveled all over the world, which countries were most embracing of Black single female. And Portugal was the number one of the survey she took. So I actually, yeah, it's everybody's going to Portugal, and that's where I was headed to, and I still hope to get there. But COVID hit, and so when COVID hit, I had to put everything closed up except Mexico had her arms wide open.
Yeah.
So because I was determined, I said I've got to go somewhere, and I didn't want to stop. I'm one of those people who, this carries over in my life, is if I can't do something one way, then I'll do it. I'll figure out another way.
Yeah.
Do what you can. I'm really big on figure out what you can do with what you have. And so Mexico was open. And then the more and more I prepared, I realized that Mexico was a good fit for me because it was close to the US, and I have family, grandchildren that I can get back to closer.
Right.
And then the biggest thing, Kendall, was I grew up in a Hispanic community in Los Angeles. I have family members that are Hispanic. I mean, I had so much of the culture. I'm like, wait a minute, that is, I didn't even experience culture shock, if you can believe that, when I got to Mexico. Because I'm so familiar with the culture and celebrations and just the kinship of the Mexican people, the warmth of the Mexican people. And so it actually was like, I feel like God kind of made it for me to be there. And it was just a good fit. And I feel like I had been prepared for Mexico, if that makes sense. When I look at everything, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Because at first, when you initially living in California, everybody goes down to Tijuana, and Mexico is not foreign enough. I was like, it didn't even occur to me to go there, really. And then when I started, learning more and more about expat life, and I've seen some women that had went to Mexico, and then I was intrigued and looking at the whole country. But it wasn't until I realized I couldn't go to Portugal that I started really looking into Mexico. And Merida was a top space. Tulum was a space that was real popular too. And most of the people that I had talked to that had been there said that I would fit with Tulum because I have an artistic. I'm artistic. I'm a jazz singer.
I can tell.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, Tulum just didn't have enough infrastructure for me at this time. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yes. It's interesting that you say Tulum was lacking in certain infrastructure because that is everybody's go-to place for vacation and tourism,
retreats and things like that. Yeah.
I remember when my mother retired from the education system after 30 plus years, we went we went on a cruise, and Tulum was one of the Playa Carmen, I think that's kind of like all in the same area, right? Was one of the locations that we went to, and we hiked up a pyramid. It was beautiful. So yeah.
Did you go to Chichen Itza?
I think we may have gone to Chichen Itza. I'm not sure. I have to look through my photos.
Yeah,
plenty of those. So what do you believe as a mom of 3, having extended family? I wonder, how do you believe your decision to really venture out into your own, world, I guess you could say, what kind of example do you believe that you're setting for your sons, your family, your friends, other women that look up to you?
I think I'm setting the example to let them know, and I've kind of raised my sons to believed that they could do whatever they wanted to do. And I always supported them in whatever they wanted to do. And to not be afraid and just really step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's the example. And it's funny because, you know, I didn't do any of this thinking that somebody was watching me. I just did it because I wanted to do it. But I've heard from many people that I've been an inspiration. And so it's an example to step out of your comfort zone and just to try something different. And even though I'm abroad, like when I coach women, traveling is what my thing is. I love to travel, but it may not be travel for someone. And so I try to encourage women, whatever it is you want to do. Maybe you want to start. I've helped a friend. She started a small jewelry business, and so it's really, you know, when you think you can't do something, do it anyway, even if you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But you'll never know if you don't try. So I think that's the example that I've set for them is to do something, even though you're not sure of the outcome, but just to trust enough to step out. And I think, my thing is falling. I think they got that message. So, and I think that's one of the examples that I set for women to try it. In fact, there's a young lady in Playa that I met, wonderful young lady. And we had a brunch there, and I didn't know her. And she came into the brunch and she hugged me because I was on Stephanie's show, or not show, her YouTube channel. And she said when she saw my interview, she said that if I could do it, she could do it. And she did what she needed to do. And she's now in Playa and all over and other parts of Mexico. And just, I mean, her life has just changed tremendously.
Wow.
So.
Wow. It's often interesting that sometimes, you know, we have these deep internal desires to do a lot beyond what's safe, right? But there's something about, I know, especially for me am I middle-aged? I don't know. I'm not a baby, obviously. I don't know what to call myself. I'll just say a 40-year-old Black woman that still has tons of life to live.
Yeah,
safety.
That sounds good.
Okay, I'll go with that. Safety and security are paramount. And having been raised by a strong mother and a very, present father, raising me to fend for yourself, be independent. You don't ever want yourself to have to be tied up, your existence tied up into someone else or your ability to survive. And I find that as a 40-year-old, Black woman that still has lots of life left to live, I have these desires sometimes, and sometimes we do just need permission. And yes, we can give it to ourselves, but to see other people giving license to just go out and do, and, having this indirect permission to, like she said to you, if she can do it, so can I. There's a lot of, I don't know, what would you say is wrapped up in that space for you? I can't, there's a word that I'm thinking of, I just can't articulate it.
I don't know. I think it's a word that encompasses permission. You already said it, because that's one of the, that word is big for me, because I think we've all given ourselves permission to do something different.
Yeah.
And we have to keep giving ourselves permission. So from my standpoint, that's really key, because it's almost like, I know sometimes I think, well, can I really do it? Can I figure it out? Is it okay? I'll just be questioning myself. And I'm fortunate, because a lot of people I know get pushback from their family, but I had tremendous support from my family, from my sons, but I think internally I have to give myself permission. And sometimes I have to keep giving myself permission, to try new things. But so I think that word permission is really big on me. And I'll just, this isn't a shameless plug, but okay, so I have a podcast as well, right?
Yeah.
And one of my first podcasts was about, I think it was the podcast or in my, anyways, was about, it was like I had written a permission slip, because remember when we were in grade school, when you went on field trips, your parents had to sign a permission slip. So I challenged the women. I'm like, hey, get your permission slip out, what it is that where you going, what you gonna do, and sign your name, because remember, then we could go, and we still need to do that. But we have a lot of blocks in our head. Can I do this? Can I swing it financially? And then there's the social piece. What are people gonna think?
Yeah.
There's so many layers to it, but the biggest one is the one you give, to uncover, is the layer of yourself. Like, go ahead and give yourself permission.
Yeah, totally. There's, being a very communal people, that can be a blessing, and sometimes it can be a curse, because we're so guided by perception.
Mm-hmm.
The world has varying perceptions of, Black women, but we're oftentimes spearheaders of movements, creativity, change. It
Say that. Yeah.
I think it's in the roles that we play, we have so much responsibility, stated and unstated, it's not just about us, right? It's how are we living a life, again, that kind of gives a level of tacit permission for other people. I don't know, I was just raised to believe that what you go through isn't necessarily always for you. Yes, you are in the midst of it. You are the primary protagonist of your situation. However, your ability to run your race, work through challenges, best situations, gives a blueprint and a playbook for other people to unlock their healing. So as a therapist, that's like the lifeblood, right?
Yes.
I would like to transition into mental health, because that is a heavy focus of the work that the Black expat experience does. And we will definitely give you the opportunity to talk about, the professional work that you're engaging in. This is a podcast, a show that helps to promote businesses, people's ventures. How are you impacting your community? It's all intertwined. So I wouldn't even call it a shameless plug. It's just what you do. So venturing into like a mental health space, I wonder if you were to give a definition of the term mental health, what would that be?
It would be,
excuse me.
And I don't like to say terms that are common, but I think it, being able to really own your own truth, or be honest with yourself. Because when I'm not honest with myself, then all kinds of, you get yourself in situations, it's just, you just kind of get into a mess, for me anyways. But I find mental health for me, like when I really have very positive mental health, is when I'm really honest with myself. And that's been a journey for me, to be honest with myself, because, we all can wear masks, and, you try to act like things are okay when they're really not.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really owning who you are, and being okay with that. Because for a long time, I wasn't, like, what I say is, I'm a millennial, but I was born as a baby boomer when I should have been a millennial, because I never, stayed in a job for, 30 or 40 years, the same one, and it was difficult sometimes, because, you're at another job. I didn't grow up with, now it's easy for millennials, everybody changes jobs real quick or starts their own business. But I didn't grow up in an environment like that. You have to understand, I grew up in an environment where everybody stayed on their job forever. So that was a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
It was challenging.
Yeah, I get that.
So, but so now, like, I'm at a place in my life where I'm embracing who I am, how I'm built, and it's okay. And before I felt like, oh, there's something not wrong, because I don't think of myself as something being wrong with me, but you just kind of feel kind of funny because it's not like everybody else. And I used to think,
Yeah.
oh, I wish I had the mindset to, want to stay on a job for more than, 2 years or something like, but that's just not how I'm built.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge who I am and embrace how I'm built. And I'm 65 now. I'm just now getting here. And so that's because I'm honest with myself now. And I'm grateful that I'm honest with myself. And it's a struggle because life throws at you different situations. So it's like, just because you're honest in one situation, that doesn't always translate to another one. So you still kind of have to,
constant recalibration, right?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's excellent.
It's kind of like once you've attained a certain level, you have a certain level of awareness, power, understanding, acceptance, but then new level, new devil. And it's like, all right, exactly. So I have this, there's a long track record of success, and success looks different for everyone, but then you approach a new level, right? And it's just a different set of circumstances that you now have to figure out how to navigate, utilizing all the skills that you've been able to grow and acquire, and that internal fortitude. And I really believe, like, I'm going to use a word that you brought up earlier, is embracing that outlier culture, that outlier persona. Yeah. It is really trying not to shove a square peg into a round hole.
Round hole.
For you. Yeah. So the more you do, the more you are willful, I'm gonna use these, therapy terms, willful, fighting against the very nature of yourself, going against the grain, just, to be obstinate or not doing the very thing, that you should be doing, because it just keeps coming up, right? So the more that you are willful and just really unaccepting of the reality that's for you, the more challenges you're going to have mental health wise, relational wise. There has to be this level of internal acceptance that helps you to move to that next step. So being that, accepting that outlier persona, that gift of, I'm just different, and that's okay. I think the more that we do that,
yes.
I don't know even know if easier is the word. I will say less tumultuous and more fulfilling.
I agree.
Life will be
more fulfilling.
Not easy by any means. But I honestly think that if you're walking in your gift, if you're doing the things that are more in alignment with the life that you want to live, going through challenges is not, what am I looking for? It's understood. This is a part of the process, right? And so
it's part of the process. But I think there's a difference between going through the process, but you could be going through a process that you shouldn't be in if you're being untrue to yourself and you're doing something that, you're trying to fit into that square peg, so you could be on, I saw this film years ago. I'm kind of a movie buff, and this guy was on a train. And then he said, when it was going to stop, he was gathering his things, and everybody's like, you're getting off? Because I think they were like helping build the railroad, which is not what he came to the United States for. But he got caught up, and he's on this train heading someplace, and the train was going to slow down and stop. And he said he was getting off, and then he realized it was like this light bulb. He said, I'm on the wrong train. Like, you could be doing all this stuff, but it's not going in the direction that you need to be going in. You understand what I'm saying?
I fully understand.
Yeah, I'm doing the wrong thing. And that's, I think a lot of people do that. It's like they're steered a certain way in life because of pressure, parents, or whatever, or they think what they should be doing. And you look up and, you're miserable doing something you don't want to do.
Right.
People, that's not a new story. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty... It's probably more common than not. And And I'm really pleased because I think this culture right now, because of what's happened in the world, um, people are reevaluating. Wait a minute, you know, now is the time for me to think about what did I really want to do, and
Yeah.
can I do that? Can I get a piece of that and start, going in that direction? But yeah, we can be caught up in processes that we shouldn't even be doing that. But we're going to have challenges. But let the challenge be in that going towards the direction that you want to go in, if that makes sense.
I agree with you 100%. And then when I hear what you're saying, and I'm in full agreement, sometimes I wonder if that is part of your process, right? Often we don't wake up to realization of, I know exactly what I need to do. I used to be an English teacher, and this is honestly my third career. And some of the best examples for students to learn from are non-examples. Sometimes you have to get a taste of what you don't want in order to really put you firmly on a path to, I know exactly what is for me, and I'm going to do everything I can to make that reality come to fruition. So
yeah, I think what you said is really true. In fact, there's a exercise you might even do it with your clients, where, like if you ask people, like, I'll say, well, what do you like to do? Or ask women, what do you want to do? Or what are your hobbies? What do you like to do? People, sometimes the first thing they can tell you everything they don't want. I don't want to do this. And so, like, to have them write down what they don't want, and then what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of that? So that leads them, so they've done these things they don't want to do, but in doing those things I don't want to do, that kind of led you to be a therapist, right?
Yeah. And so in that vein, there's this term that I learned in this training from this neurobiology expert. I cannot remember her name at the moment, but she has this phrase that I use all the time, and it's called survival of the busiest. And
I like that.
So it really focuses on the thing that you spend your time thinking about, lamenting on, is what's going to amplify. So if you spend a lot of time focused on the outcomes that you don't want, what you don't want to happen, what you don't like, all of your energy is going toward that thing. So you make that amplify. And so when we come to like therapy and stuff, in solution focused brief therapy, there's this term called like your best hope, or your preferred future. And I often, like, when I have conversations with people, not even in a therapeutic sense, because I can go anywhere, meet anybody, and I'm just like, okay, there's some level of a therapy conversation. I just can't help it. And it's always like, so what are the things that you are looking for? Like, what's the best hope that you have? What do you want? People really have a hard time identifying what they want.
Yeah.
Like, but if you start the day off thinking about, what do you want? How do you want your day to go? What is it that you want to be in alignment with today? And you channel your energy into that. Yes, you can acknowledge the challenge, but where do you shift your purpose? And I really believe that expat living is a lot of that. I acknowledge what I don't like. I'm struggling with, how ghetto America is at the moment, but China ain't perfect. But these are all the things that I'm able to create for myself. Mexico, identifying what you want, what helps you to be the best version of yourself, mentally well, fulfilled. It's really like shifting all of your energy into those things.
Yeah. And like you said, if you're shifting your energy into those things, that helps them come to pass. But if you're stuck in what you don't want, that's where you're stuck at, in your head and your mind, and you're mad and you're venting and you're taking it out on others. But I think a big part of that, a problem is, and I know you've seen this, especially with women. I will ask some women, like, what do you want to do? Or what goals do you have? What do you want, and they don't know, because you know why? Because as soon as they start telling you stuff, it'll be about what their kids have done. And I'm like, no, I want to know what you want. And they don't no fault of our own, we're so used to thinking of something for our kids or a husband or whatever. It's like, well, wait a minute, a hobby. I don't know if I have a hobby because my hobby was my kids,
Yeah.
right? And so the time that there's not enough time spent, or when you ask that question, then it's like, what do I really want? So before they really got to do some soul searching before they can answer that question.
Fully agree.
And I think all of us do from time to time, because you can get caught up in the survival of the busiest and just be doing things that you're supposed to do. So when you stop for a minute to think, if somebody asks you, what do you want to do in a year or 5 years from now, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece.
Yeah.
Have you seen that when you ask, like you said, they don't know. It's hard.
I know. I see.
They don't know what they want.
Well, I see tons of stuff, but again, there's that permission of, can I even do that for myself? Of course you can, but you have to know it. It's not my job to tell people what you can and cannot do. Is to help you to identify what internal resources will allow you to get to that space, and how do you give yourself permission to be the outlier, right? You don't have to live a life that other people have prescribed for you. So, and when I think about like mental health, as women, as Black women, nurturers, I think by nature, boundaries is really a struggle for some people. And being able to be firm in their identity, who they are, who they want to be, and that being different than what their family has said. Well, this is who you need to be, this is who I want you to be, generationally, this is what we've always done. That can be a challenge. So I wonder, as a mom, when you think of, I kind of want to shift back to mental health, like when you think of growing up, I'm curious what your answer will be. When you think of growing up and conversations that you may or may not have had or witnessed when it comes to mental health in your culture, in your community, in your family, can you recall any conversations regarding mental health, mental wellness, things of that nature?
Oh, no, I can't. I cannot. I cannot. When I was growing up, there was no conversation about mental health at all. But fortunately, when I got to college, a roommate of mine, I think I was venting a little bit too much to her. And she says, I think there's, I go see a counselor on campus, and I think you might want to.
Oh, I love her segue. That's the way you do it.
At 18, this was like 18. So, let's see, you're still a kid, And so I fortunately at 18 years old on campus, 18, 19-ish, started seeing a counselor on campus. Now, mind you, I went to a small Christian school that was predominantly white. There was a handful of us. Had a great experience.
I can imagine.
I
said, I can imagine.
Yeah, and so, she told me about the counseling thing, but in my community and in our culture, it wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
Such that when I went through college and I would have, go see the counselor when I was having, just issues I wanted to talk about. After I got out of college and had some relationships, I realized how taboo like counseling was or therapy was.
Yeah.
But I, at a young age, it was positive.
Yeah.
I had thinking back, I had some very, very good counselors and therapists. And I'm so pleased that our community is embracing it now. But it was not even, it wasn't even on the table. It wasn't. It was never discussed, and that's really kind of it's kind of sad, because let's face it, we have as Black people, we've gone through so much, and we've learned how to deal with it. We had to deal with it. We had to be strong. We had to be tough. Whether you were a single parent taking care of all your kids, or whether you were a man who was, being harassed on your job, it's a part of who we are, is just having to deal with it and be tough, and we do it and we make it look good. Right.
Yeah.
But we could have used the support, and I'm so glad that it's now is a culture where even the Black men that are amenable to counseling. But I remember years ago, when I might have mentioned counseling to some brothers, they were like,
I ain't crazy. The hell? And a whole
yeah, it was exactly, it was a stigma. It's like they don't need it. Like they, like it's always, they don't, everything's fine. No, you need to go talk to somebody.
Right. It's like everything's not fine. You're irritable, you're moody, you drink a lot, you are isolated, clinically depressed, probably, right? And I'm so grateful for you sharing that, there was a person in your life that recognized, let me offer you this gift that of counseling, just the even mention of it. And
yeah,
everything that you said has been, an experience that I've witnessed in the work that I've been doing. And I like to focus my work heavily on Black communities and other communities of color. So when you say that there wasn't much infrastructure, I could, right? And my mom's a counselor, but that really wasn't a conversation that we had, growing up. And I know that I was anxious, and I know that I dealt with depression, growing up, being a high performing Black kid in a very white world, things of that nature. One of the things I really hope that our community continues to understand, and I think that we could have even had, back then, is the communal nature of healing, and how as a community we can come together and create healing spaces, be that community circles, be that, through dancing, reclaiming like our cultural heritage and practices to bring about mental wellness. But it starts with breaking the stigma that has such a stronghold on our community, and for I think very good reason. Can't add on another deficiency when we're already dealing with so many systemic things that impact our mental health. So here's a question for you. As a mom of boys, when you think about your children, and it's kind of like hindsight's 2020 and mental health, if there could be any conversations that you would go back and repeat when it comes to mental wellness, mental health as young Black men, I wonder what would those be?
Probably just more of a conversation about how helpful it could have been. Yeah, and that now, mind you, because I had counseling, in my college years, I actually recognized some areas that I thought my boys could have benefit from.
Yeah.
And so it was offered to them, because I'm one of those parents. I'm not one of those parents who is too afraid to acknowledge when your child needs help, because if I see something wrong, I want to acknowledge it so I can get my baby some help. Right. That's how I'm built. And so there was some instances where I said, this is out of my, I need some help here, and I know I can't give you the guidance, but I probably would have liked to have spent more time really talking about how real helpful would have been. But again, like you said, even at that time, it was kind of a stigma. What kid, it's kind of a stigma. And it's not like, oh, everybody at that time, now everybody talks about it like a joke. My therapist this, you hear it talked about so loosely now. But even back then it wasn't. And so it was a stigma. So probably just really talking more about how beneficial that it's just good to talk to somebody else that's not in your circle.
Yeah. That has some separation, that's more objective, because as parents, y'all are biased. Right. No matter what, there's always a bias there, and rightfully so. I say I ask you that question now because the statistics are showing that young Black men and Black women are dying by suicide at higher rates than before.
It breaks my
And
heart.
it kills me on the inside, right? With COVID, not really being able to be relational with people that they care about, just the racial dynamics of the way that the world is right now, and just being a teenager in general is difficult. So I think what I can get from your conversation, from what you shared, that really sticks out to me the most is the fact that you had experience. Therefore, you were able to pass that down and even open up a conversation and offer it. There's exposure. And so once
there was exposure there.
Right. So once we have exposure, that's a gift that we can give other individuals in our orbit, in our families. It has to start with somebody, just like the recipes that we have in our family, traditions. How do we begin to allow mental health, mental wellness, which can be very different when it comes to treatment? How do we give that gift? How do we entrench that into our communities moving forward?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think what you're doing is helpful. I think the more we talk about it and put it out there, and it becomes more acceptable. Just like a whole lot of things right now, things are just more acceptable. And I think having conversations, honest conversations, but basically talking about it, and clearly what all of us have went through in these last couple of years with COVID, and the isolation that we've experienced, and the suicide rates that you see. I mean, we need help. Everybody needs help. In our community, like you said, is the rates are much higher. And I like you, my heart just breaks. And there was 3 suicides of celebrities, children, or people that are of note, and black people in the last year. And I called each one of mine, and they're grown men now with their own families. But I'm like, look, hey, it don't have to be me. It don't have to be, talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody, because, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. When they, and you've left a hole in so many people in question. And it's just, we need so much, we need so much help. So I appreciate your profession, because people like, I guess people had a stigma, but I have never had a stigma. I'm like, I need to go talk to somebody.
Okay.
And I think that the blessing is that I had good counselors on campus. And then when I got out of college, I had a good template of therapy. So I know what's not good.
Yeah.
And, as over the years I'm like, no, they're not, hitting it. So I'm just thankful that I had that opportunity at a younger age. So like you said, I know what I knew how to, what it involved, and I could share that and pass that down. And I think it worked, because we, in our family, it's not a stigma attached to it, and it's very acceptable, whether it's professional or either inside of the church, getting some level of counseling. I've always been, pro that, because people, we keep so much inside, and we had to for a while, but now, we need to release that. And I know my mother, and it's this kind of personal, but bless her heart, I know she has we all experienced some traumas, and I lost a brother at a young age, and I know she acted like a trooper through the whole thing, but I know it killed her inside. But she kept it inside. And I try, that's a challenge for me to not keep so much inside. So one of the things that I've done for myself this last year is when I hurt, I'm going to tell you I'm hurting.
Honestly.
If you hurt my feelings, or I didn't appreciate that, because too many times I just let stuff happen, and that's not okay.
Right.
That's where that whole boundaries
on the
piece
inside.
comes in.
Like you don't let go of it.
Yeah.
It simmers on the inside. And so there's like a self-betrayal by not sharing what's happened. It's a slow
It's
death.
Oh my gosh. You said that word. It's a self-betrayal. And I'm so I know I have betrayed myself in the past in terms of, doing something I said I wasn't going to do, and I did it, and it's just a self-betrayal. So that term, like, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm always trying to make sure that I'm not in self, betraying myself, because
Right.
you're just hurting yourself. So it's a journey. I'm not there yet. I have to, in fact, just today, I mean, you have no idea what I came from today. And then I find out that the interview, I knew I was looking forward to this, but we're in a time difference.
Yeah.
And so just FYI, I'm actually visiting family in the States right now. Okay.
Okay.
And so my daughter-in-law, I'm like, what? I said, I got this interview. I said, she's in China, and I got to figure out what time it is here. And because months ago, I remember I looked at it, but this was months ago when we set this up, and she's like, you got 5 minutes. I'm like, what? And so I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so I tried to hurry up and because I wanted to do it, but there were some boundaries that I didn't uphold today, that I just, and it was a good thing. Like, I'll give people, I'll give them a pass. And this person, she got a huge pass today. She got a huge pass because I'm at a place in my life right now, I don't really give passes anymore. I'm like, nope, I know how to say real good. I know how to say no real good right now. I do. Even if, you might not even ask the question, and you can look at me, and it's going to be,
because we can master a look for sure. I want to,
right.
So I really appreciate you battling through, the gauntlet to get to the interview. I just have a few more questions, but on the topic of self-betrayal, I also want to add, when you realize that maybe a decision has been made that kind of betrays a boundary that you've set, or something that you said you've wanted for yourself, do that in a self-compassionate way, realizing that, every situation doesn't have to be a battle, and that you can kind of reclaim whatever it is that you've, given away and vowed, maybe not to make that decision again, because every decision is purposeful. Sometimes we give in one so that we can move on to the next. It's when you find that you're getting stuck, and if you're constantly in that mode of going against what you said or a boundary that you stated, it's identifying, all right, so what is it what barrier am I experiencing that I keep repeating this behavior? Something's underneath that, right? So let me go back and reassess what it is that I really want, and what am I afraid of? Like, we are really driven by fear a lot of times, and that fear is not real. And sometimes we get I think this really definitely deals with the expat life. We get so afraid of the unknown, that uncertainty, not knowing that that's where the growth is, right? You can be stuck and never get anywhere, and that's a decision. So it's taking that baby step each time. And so I want to ask you a question. How do you believe making the decision to move abroad, to live your life on your own terms, how do you believe it's impacted your holistic wellness, mental health, physical health? How do you believe it has helped you as a person?
Okay. That's not a hard question to ask. First of all, it connects the dot of being true to myself. I've always wanted to travel. I've always wanted. And then the other thing was, I have my family will, I'm wearing this bracelet. I don't know if you can see this bracelet, but it has a palm tree on it. And my daughter-in-law blessed me with this about 3 or 4 years ago. She said, because you're always talking about the beach, that you're going to live on the beach, you're going to move by the beach, that was it. I said I was always going to do that, right? And I told my sons, I'm going to live by the beach someplace. I lived in Los Angeles, California. Do you know how much property is by the beach over there? But I was determined. I said, I'm going to find some place in the world where I can afford to live on the beach. So when I moved to Mexico, I'm just like tickled inside, like I did it. And that
makes me happy.
Yeah. Can you feel? I mean, it was like I did it. I actually, like, I turn out of my apartment and I just walked down 10 minutes and I'm like looking at this gorgeous ocean, and I did it, and so that just fills my soul. So that's a huge, just the fact that I've moved to get that. Are you kidding me? That's like, and the stress level, like I didn't know, and I'm sure you've heard this and you've probably felt this with being an expat, is I didn't know how much weight I had until I got there. And I'm just like,
yes.
And after months go by, and I'm like, wow, so it's really, I have to shift my brain. Like I'm shifting my brain being back here for a minute. I have to shift my brain. It's, because it's just a freedom. And I try to explain this to people, but they don't get it.
Yeah.
It's just it's a freedom that I felt. And it was like a gift to myself. And that I feel so proud of myself that I did that for myself. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I'm hundreds, thousands of miles from family, from everybody that I know and love in my family. I'm away from them, but I wanted to give that to me, to Toni. Wanted to give myself something. And I'm really big on, like, we all I love it when other people acknowledge me and do things for me. And I just, got blessed with my birthday with some really wonderful things from people. But the real gift is when I can give to myself. And that's because I never did before. So I'm learned later in life to just give to myself. That's okay. It's okay. And it feels really good because I'm valuing myself.
Yeah.
And it's extra for me because I didn't for a long time.
Wow. I'm so happy for you. I'm so
Thank you.
happy for you. Just listening to you now, like, so you and my mother are the same age. And oh my God, am I getting emotional? I am. I'm so about to cry.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I gotta live what I preach, feel what I feel. I can hear my clients now. Feel what you feel. Just to have in the phase of life that you're in, to give yourself like the space to be happy, the space to take care of yourself, the space to tap into the things that bring you joy. I'm like so about to cry. I never do this. Like I've never cried this. I'm sorry.
No apologies necessary.
I'm so happy for you. Like, thank you for sharing that, because I see women every day that are so bound and just unhappy. And it's like a slow apathy. And I want more women, especially in like their golden age, to know that you've done such a good job of, oh my goodness, of like giving yourself to so many people and taking care of others. That how do you do that for yourself? Like, how do you turn that around and feed your soul? Like, how do you tap into like your gifts and your strengths that you've like just imbibed into everybody else? And it's not even about being selfish. It is just, you do have permission to care for yourself, despite what other people think. Like, you have the license to create the life that you've helped
Ooh, I
other
like
people.
that. License to create. I got to remember that.
Like,
I like that.
please take it. Please take it. Like, again, you have the license to create the life that you've given other people the template, you know, and the support to have. I just, ooh, that just struck me. And I'm so like, oh, I'm not sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. And, you know, and it's been a journey for me. And it's, you know, I'm still on a journey. You know, it's, you know, my life isn't perfect. But what I've learned to do over the years is try to accept where I'm at and do what I can with what I have. I mean, I don't have that much means, but I have God, and actually that's better than having means. You know,
He
because
will make a way.
I have, yeah, he is great in no uncertain terms. It's like I know that he's got my back and he has supported this, you know. And here's the thing, he's created me, and all the desires that I have inside of me, he knows those were there. And the spiritual part, if I can get back to, like, you know, the question you had said, what prompted me is, you know, I went to a Bible school, was heavy into the word, Bible study, you know, church on Sunday, and, you know, really involved in the church for years and years. And, you know, it was at a time where I'm like, I need more than that now, you know. And when I look at the beautiful ocean, or it's not even the ocean, I just like the nature, period. When I'm, and the beautiful earth that God has made, that brings me closer to God. That fuels my soul. So that's a part of it. It's like I feel close to God when I'm traveling.
I love that, you know, as religious individuals, as very spiritual people, sometimes it can be difficult to help people understand that you can love God and you can also have a therapist, and those two things are in alignment with one another. So, you know, what would be your message to women that kind of struggle with the acceptance of, I'm in this phase of life and I do want more outside of my spirituality and my religious practices? How do you help them to see that those things can be integrated, which is going to amplify like the quality of life?
Yeah. Let me make sure I'm understanding your question, like bringing the spiritual aspect into the traveling piece.
Yeah, or the travel, or whatever it is that will help them have more fulfillment, in addition to yourself included, in addition to your spiritual practices.
Yeah, I think it is really acknowledging whatever their gifts. I kind of start off with all of us have such wonderful gifts and talents.
Right.
And so he didn't give those gifts and talents for us, for ourselves necessarily. They're for others. And so I think starting with that first, looking at, you know, what gifts and talents do you have, and how that will lend itself to, you know, where does that fit in? Where would you like to take that? Because I think whatever our gift and talent is, it's going to connect to something. It's going to connect to something else. And then that usually will lead you to, you know, like, for example, you know, one of my gifts is I like to sing, or I love to sing. I've always done that. Right. Well, I was kind of stuck with singing too. And I wanted to go to Mexico. I said, you know what, maybe that'll even, you know, get me going again with the music, you know, open up my creative process again. And it did. It connected, you know, and I got down there and I had the opportunity to sing at a couple, several restaurants or cantinas or whatever, you know, and so there was a connection there. But the first thing before we can do any of that is they have to give yourself permission, because if you don't think you can do it, or think, you know, it's stuck in your mind that you can't do it, it's just a dream. If you're there, you got to get past that. And I have a dear friend, like, she says she can't. And the reason that she says, and I told her, I said, I said, you're not going to like what I'm going to have to tell you. I says, but you can. You're making a conscious choice to not figure it out how you could.
Yeah, there's fear. There's fear there, right?
Mhm.
And I'm sure that there are some real world
I
limitations.
get it.
Right.
I get it. It's not like we're doing this and we weren't fearful. And so what I tell people is, I said, I packed my fear in the suitcase and I came on. I packed it
Baggage
right on up.
claim.
It's over there.
It is. It's kind of, and you have to address it every now and again, but you also got to put it in its place too. Like fear has a purpose, right? And a lot of times we're fearful of, sometimes I wonder if we're more fearful of things actually working out than they falling apart.
Well, yeah, fear of success. That's real.
Trust me, it is. And that imposter syndrome attached to it. So it's understanding that, you know, fear does have a purpose, but like you said, you're making the conscious decision to listen to it as opposed to identify what is it that you have within yourself that has shown you over time that you can work through the fear and do it afraid.
Yeah.
Do it afraid, right? That fear doesn't have to be a barrier.
Right. And you just said something that I shared something this with someone the other day. The fear thing came up. She said she was hesitant to go abroad. And I says, here's the thing. You have, you know, she was in her, I think she was approaching like 64. You have, okay, let's give it to your 20. You have 44 years of experience of getting yourself out of situations.
Success.
44 years of experience. You didn't got over a lot of challenges. You're gonna run into some bumps in the road. Yeah, you are. And guess what? You're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. There's this phrase that I see memes about it all the time. You've literally survived every last one of your worst days. So what makes you think that if a challenge comes, you won't be able to, you know, test it? Because you have, right? Being a Black woman in America is a blessing, but it is also challenging. So if we can do that and thrive, the world is our oyster. I really do believe that we have to be a lot more intentional about where are we going? Why are we going? We have to plan things out a little bit more. It's very difficult for us to just on the spur of the moment, I'm gonna get up and move abroad and not have a plan. To be really intentional about what our next steps are gonna be. And so, you know, as our interview comes to a close, I wanna give you the opportunity to kind of share, one, what would you hope the advancement of mental health in our community, you know, Black people, Black women, Black expats, could be moving forward?
To recognize that it's available now to us and that it's okay, and that it will probably behoove you to take advantage of being able to see a therapist or a counselor. You don't have to keep everything inside. You can get help, and it will help you just get clarity on being able to plan your life more. You know, it's so helpful to have somebody that's not always in your everyday circle to bounce some ideas off, to just listen to you, because I can't always hear what I'm saying, and maybe you could.
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, I think that's what I would say is that, hey, it's available to us now. You know, the stigma is less. And even if it is a stigma, I like to try and help other women to don't worry about what other people are saying. They're not paying your rent. And even if they are paying your rent, you know, I'm like, yeah, you have your own, we have you. And this is what, I just get so passionate about this part.
I love it.
You get to do you. And that's what we think we can't, but you know what? I get to live, like, if you have an opinion about something and it's totally different than mine, that's okay. Because you know what? That's Kendall's opinion. You get to have that. And that's the same with our lives. No, you get to live your life, but so much we don't know that. We're trying to do what somebody else thinks we should do, or we're conditioned, society's conditions. But no, you get to, that's the beauty. We get to choose. So choosing, like therapy is, you don't have to do it alone. There's somebody that you can, listen to. It doesn't mean they have all the answers, because they don't.
Right.
Nobody has all the answers.
Right.
Yeah, you're not even supposed to. But taking advantage that there's therapy out there now. And the other thing is, um, I don't know if there's more. You would know more about this than I would, because I was going to say there's probably more Black therapists now than there was back in the day. But I remember one of my classmates, and this was 10 years ago. She was a therapist. She was going to school to be a therapist. So, but yeah, it's more available to us now, and we'll be healthier people. And it just to get clarity, and to give yourself permission to talk to somebody and to get therapy. So
yes, I agree with that. I co-sign that. And I hope, that the people that watch this episode really, take heed to what you're saying. So I kind of want to give you just a few minutes, an opportunity to share with us how you believe that you are positively impacting your community. I'm so interested to hear more.
Well, I think I'm positively I'm sorry, it's late.
I know we're almost done. It's gone a lot longer than I intended, but it's just been so,
that's okay. It's been good. And I have to, it's kind of like two parts to this. I'm really big on legacies. And one of the ways that I've positively, it's like the work that I've done before. And I have raised three incredible young men, Black men. And I don't think I realized it while I was raising them, but now I look at it and I look at the impact that they're making. And that was something that I did. So they're carrying on, they're improving communities. I have one that's a minister. I have one that's a wonderful herbalist. Yeah, he's really into healing people with herbs. And then my youngest is a wonderful musician who brings joy to people with music. And I was a part of all that. So that's part of how my legacy is impacting the community. The work that I do with women, and like I said, I didn't plan to, it's funny, I was going to say I didn't plan to do this, but yeah, I've always wanted to work with women and encourage women and inspire them to use their gifts for many, many, many years. And I'm so glad that the internet is here and I can do that. So I impact the community because I have a podcast, I have a Facebook group, on Instagram, and a YouTube channel. And in those 4 areas, I impact women. I don't predominantly Black women, probably, but I open it to all women to encourage them to live more, to uncover their gifts and talents, and to do what, don't do it like me, but what is it that you want to do and do that. So yeah, so I think I'm impacting the community.
It sounds like it has ripple effects. I love the element of legacy, right? It's not just about us. And the work that you're doing, I would even say the work that's happening right now in this episode, the work that you're doing, it's all about exemplified permission, right? I'm going to keep coming back to that word. It is the personification.
Keep coming back to that word.
Right. The personification of you have permission to do it too. Nobody told me that I could. I had to let myself know, that you can put the work into this long held dream that you've had and make it happen. Right. It's a phenomenon of don't get in your own way. How do you get out of your way and, let the stuff manifest? You got to do the work. But it doesn't start until you put the work into it, right? And give yourself that license to, yes, I can make this happen for myself. So let me ask you, I have just 2 more questions. When you think about taking care of yourself abroad, being the best version of yourself, what are some of the non-negotiables that you have that allow you to show up as your best self more consistently?
You know what one of them is to well, and this has come up earlier, is to really be true to myself in terms of especially when I'm around my beautiful sisters, or the, you know, the Black communities that I've surrounded myself with. Is it's real easy for I'm not going to point out anyone, but to get caught up in other people's narratives, and it might not be my narrative. So I'm really keen on making sure I stay in my lane, so to speak, because from what I observed, it's really easy to get caught up in what everybody else is doing, or what they like, or what they, and for me, I have to really stay present to, am I doing this because everybody's doing it, or am I doing it because is what Toni wants?
Yeah.
And so that's what I have to do for my mental health, because I can tell, you know, when I'm kind of off track and doing, you know, kind of just doing things because it seems like it's popular, or that's what everybody else is doing. So for myself, that's one of the things that I have to do, is really staying true to myself.
Yeah.
And paying attention and make sure, am I really doing am I here in Playa, or when I'm there, you know, making sure that I'm doing what I want to do, and not what everybody else is, not buying into other people's narratives.
Right.
That's one of the things. And then the other thing too, is, like you said, like really being intentional. That's something that I have to constantly do, so things won't just happen. I mean, like if it's something I really want to do, because you can get stuck being abroad. You can still be stuck in your, so I have to constantly, be intentional about moving forward.
Yeah. I fully agree with that. And, you know, lastly, what are you most proud of?
Oh, that's the golden question. You know what? I'm gonna cheat a little bit, because it's two things. What I'm most proud of is I am most proud of the sons that I've raised. You know, I'm just so proud of them. And then the other thing I'm proud of is me. And sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm so proud of you, because I haven't given up. And it's real easy to give up. And, you know, there's some, you know, life, you know, my life hasn't, it's not 100% like I thought it was going to look like,
right.
You know, and so I'm just glad that I haven't given up, and I still keep trying, that I'm the type of, I still keep trying to be fulfilled. I still keep trying to, whatever my dreams are, I still want to try and do it. And, you know, I'm proud of myself for not giving up, and trying to bring others with me, because I do that. And that's just natural. I've always done that. And all the jobs, my profession, I was a corporate trainer, teacher, academic advisor, several other positions at different colleges. And I've always inspired and encouraged others to reach their full potential. That's who I am. And
my mom, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's just kind of who I am. And so yeah, that's
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for this time. It has really fed me. And I never get I'm emotional, but I never like cry on an episode. So I really appreciate your honesty.
Wow.
I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you for sharing this time. So do you have can you share with us how we can follow you on social media? It will be included in the show notes, but do you have any final words for anyone that's watching?
Sure. First, I'll tell you where you can reach me at. I do expat coaching and life coaching, because I was doing life coaching anyway. But then when I moved to Mexico, people started reaching out, how do you do this? How do you do that? Or how did you, so I offer that, and I can be reached. You can reach me through my YouTube channel, which is Up and Bloom on YouTube. And then on YouTube, it's the and sign, Rise Up and Bloom. On Instagram, it's Rise Up AND and Bloom. I also have a Facebook group for any women out there who want encouragement, not just from me, but I have a group of some incredible women. They all just blow me away that are in the group, and it's Rise Up and Bloom. And I actually rebranded recently to Rise Up and Bloom. It was She Said Yes to Loving Herself, but I can encompass that. So yeah, and on Instagram, Rise Up and Bloom. So I think I covered it. YouTube, Instagram, Rise Up and Bloom, Toni Denise Carthan, you got me. But I would love to work with anyone who's interested in moving abroad or to Mexico. And then also, maybe it's not moving abroad, it's whatever, whatever they want to do. But I bring my skills and talents and my gift of just, I really believe in people being able to do what, live the life that they want to live, and maybe they can't do all of it, but let's get a little bit of that in there,
Right.
know? So, yeah, so I just encourage listeners or your followers to, especially the women. Well, I don't want to say especially the women, because I know this is for expats, period, because I know men, need counseling too. But all I can do is say I've had a very positive experience with counseling and therapy, and so I encourage you to take advantage of it. And you'll be glad. You'll be glad you did. You'll thank me and Kendall later. But but thank you so much. Huh?
I said I fully agree with that.
Yeah, but thank you for having me on the show. It really allowed my day to end on a positive note, because prior to this,
Well, I'm glad.
so this was a blessing that the timing was good, because I can go to sleep on a very positive note. But before this conversation, it was like mayhem and confusion and all. Anyway, so good. So thank you.
You are so welcome. I'm glad that, we could give you the opportunity to kind of feel a bit more settled and end on a positive note. And so for everyone that's watching, I want to thank you for tuning into the Black Expat Experience. I encourage you all to keep taking risks, impacting your communities, and make sure above all that you prioritize your mental health. Please go to the show, subscribe, like, and share, and gift this to your communities as well, and be on the lookout for the next amazing episode. And with that, I'm going to say peace to everyone, and thank you, Toni, for stopping by today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.